The drive to succeed and the unrelenting passion to be the best is a part of who we are. It's in our DNA, the indomitable spirit of champions. With strength and vigor, we celebrate with pride the glory of hard-earned victories. We celebrate the greatness that is within us all. We celebrate Jamaica.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with Cranwatha, a Stanley and Empress production, giving the youth a voice.
Talk Up Yout.
So we come to know these youths and show these youths. Talk up yourself, the youths to know them roots. Nurture them, protect and love and hear these youths. Music make them know I love, we show these youths. To save the youth, not kill the youth.
Talk Up Yout encourages all youth to find tangible solutions for their issues.
Season 6, the best of past seasons, the interview, the panel discussion, and dub poetry by Step Up.
Are you ready for today's show? Today's topic is...
We come to build the youths in action, Jamaica. We are build the youths, the youth in Jamaica.
Jamaica is well known around the world, namely for reggae and sports, and we thank our athletes for continuing to keep us on the map. A pivotal event to watch in track and field is Champs, which highlights the best of the best in youth athletics, and it also gives Jamaicans a platform to come out and rep their schools. We want to welcome Michael O'Hara. Welcome to Talk Up Yout. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. Michael, first of all, you were the it boy in primary school and the it boy in high school when it comes to track and field, right? I want you to tell some of our youth watching some of the sacrifices and dedication that you've had to make to excel in your sports.
When I first started doing track and field, it was really not my thing. I used to watch my mother run, and from there forward, that's where I liked it. And the sacrifices I made, it was really rough, you know. I had to sit and think for like a day to see if I really want to do this. And I guess from that moment on, you know, I said, okay, let's do this.
So your mom was an athlete?
Yes.
Oh.
She used to run for home.
Oh, okay. So that's where you get the skills from.
Yeah.
All right. But you said you didn't really know if it was your thing. It wasn't something that you
Yes,
enjoyed?
because in primary school, well, I used to play football as well, and I was good at both. And I was saying, well, I can't do both. I have to choose one. And for the moments that I've been at high school, I started liking track and field more and more. So that's where I really give to track and field.
How stressful is your program? Like, you know, take us through from grade 7 up. I mean, how often did you have to train?
I trained every day for almost 6 hours.
6 hours a day?
Yeah.
During high school?
Mm-hmm.
Monday to... That's serious. That's a lot. Were you, I mean, how bad did it get for you? Were there times you felt like giving up? You were just tired?
Well, for every athlete, there is always times that you want to give up. What do you mean? If you love the sport and you're very dedicated to it, I mean, it shouldn't be a problem to you.
So you grew to love it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, how did it feel to be the it boy dominating in Champs 2015? Take us through those moments.
Well, I can say it's a very good feeling. You know, you train very hard for almost 9 months, and to come out and to put out what you have trained hard and to put it on the track, it's a very good feeling, you know. I mean, some people can predict and say, well, this is my year, so it won't be anything new to me. So I had to just stay focused and train very hard.
But the feeling must be something, man, when you get up there and you're getting those medals and you see everybody tweeting your name. Come on, man, tell us if you never get look in the mirror and say, yeah, I made that. I mean, come on. I mean, what's the feeling like?
Well, it's an ordinary feeling to me. You know, it's something I've grown and gotten used to from I was in basic school and we should come up.
So basic school, you were the it boy. Primary school, you were the it boy.
The only thing that was different to me was the crowd and the support that I got.
Okay. Now let's go into the support. I'm sure after that and right before that, when people, you know, could predict your time because they could see, you know, how you were running at the time before Champs, I'm sure a lot of people were coming at you. What was, even for the business world, coaches, how were they coming at you, and who was helping to manage that?
Well, as my coach currently know, we always, it's hard to get on top, but even harder to stay on top. So, I mean, I got a lot of support from my mother and my friends and my coach as well. I mean, I always think to him, he's there for me 100%, and I can always rely on him and my mother.
Is it the same coach you have now?
You know, different coach.
Okay, so you when you leave high school, you go on, you're entering the professional world.
Yeah.
Tell us the challenges of transitioning from high school, track and field, to the professional world. How has it been so far?
It is rough, I can tell you that. It is rough. And if you want to become a professional athlete, you have to at least sit and know about the professional life and what it's all about. Because I mean, it is not a walkover. It's a totally different atmosphere.
What makes it so much different?
The training for one, and the things you have to do.
It's more rigorous?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
And the things you have to do to stay healthy at the same time, and the training you have to put in, and the workout that you have to do is different, totally different from high school and pro.
So all your friends are doing what compared to you? Is it that you're walking this way and all your friends are going this way? Do you sometimes feel like, you know, boy, that youthful life, you know, the parties or the social gatherings, are you able to keep up with the rest of your peers? And do you feel like an outsider sometimes?
Well, I don't feel like an outsider because the friends that I have, I've grown with them from I was at a very tender age. So they know what I'm all about. And I'm not much of a party person, so they wouldn't have a problem with me being an outsider at all.
What does Michael O'Hara love?
Well,
the most?
The most. I love traveling the world.
And will we see you across the globe? I mean, where are we going in the next 12 months, 24 months?
Well, you'll see me, I guess I'll be in training, but you won't see me in the spotlight or around, you know, because I'm a very focused person and I always set my priorities first, so I have to get my goals in front before I can do anything else.
What's the #1 goal? I know you sit and you say, one day, I know when you sit at home, you look at me and say, you know, one day, you know, I'm going to be on this platform, world champ, Come on and tell us the goal so we can be there to support you.
My #1 goal, you know, is to be a world beater, as Usain Bolt had already announced in the papers, and to also be a very successful businessman as well.
I'm glad you put the business in it, because you got to know the business. Well, seems like your head is screwed on. Advice you would give to look at the younger athletes, the one sentence of advice you would offer them?
Well, they all know it by heart now, but it's to always be a student athlete and not just only an athlete, because track and field is a very unfair sport. Today you're up and tomorrow you'll be down.
If you were back in March 2015, the day before you won your last race at Champs, what advice would you give your younger self?
Wow.
Is that a hard one? Take yourself back. If you could just give yourself a word of advice, what would you do differently, or what would you have said to yourself?
Well, that would be to not predict the future.
Don't predict the future.
Don't predict the future.
Excellent. Well, Michael, we on Talk of Yout and myself, we wish you the best in everything. We know you'll make us proud, and we're glad that you have your head screwed on. You understand?
Yeah, man.
Zane. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to have some more young, bright panelists. Some are athletes, some are not. And they're going to, join the conversation on youth and sports, look at the difficulties, look at the solutions, and the way we can continue to go globally in that field. So if you don't mind, I'd love you to sit in and, see what they have to say.
Yes, I will. It'll be my first, so it should be interesting.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, let's do it. Let's get out of here and get the boardroom ready.
My issue on youth and sport is that the coaches these days are not following the mantra athletes first, winning second. I say this because there's a lot of high schoolers that after high school they lose the love that they have for the sport just because they were pressured into winning and because they didn't fulfill that winning thing that the coach want them to get, they lost the love for it. And I want that to stop.
My issue in sports is the healthcare of an athlete. Why, if an athlete is injured, we have to fly them overseas? Why not create the type of treatment and machines ourselves to better the less expenses and to have a better environment for the athletes?
My issue with youth and sports is that there's still a level of gender bias being integrated into it, whereas a male, for instance, myself, cannot be free to play netball or even do gymnastics. And also I want it to be equalized that we have equal sport opportunities in the rural areas as well as the urban areas. So if I want to do gymnastics, I don't have to come to Kingston to enroll in the classes.
My issue with youth and sports is that there isn't sufficient investment or capital directed towards sports programs in Jamaica. Because when you look at the ROI or the return of investment on sports programs, these programs help to alleviate certain social ills like disruptive behavior, crime, and it also provides a sufficient outlet for poverty. Because a lot of persons have a sense of hope, a sense of belonging, and they have a chance to become almost like a national hero, right? You know, they're on magazines all over the world and they have a chance to help their family significantly. So with all these things taken into consideration, I believe that we can do better in generating more capital towards local sports programs in Jamaica.
Think about an athlete and their coach. They're almost friends. Sometimes they're father figures, they're like aunts, big sisters, and they spend a lot of time with each other. They are now stewards of a young life to mold us to become better persons, not just on the field, but also off the field. So my issue is with coaches who disregard their responsibilities to build the person's life. And that is what I really want to get into today.
Often in Jamaica especially, I believe that the reason why a lot of parents and a lot of households don't put so much emphasis on sports and don't really encourage their children to become more active in sports and to pursue their dreams in sports is because they don't believe that it opens as many opportunities as performing well academically. But what I want to address today is to kind of reinforce the facts that we've seen and the evidence that we've seen that sports can open just as many opportunities as academia for young people.
Those were the issues. Stay tuned. After the break, we'll go into the discussions.
We have to build the youth, the album youth in Jamaica.
It's a new day, filled with new challenges and possibilities. It's another opportunity for us to be the best that we can be. Now is the time to work diligently and creatively with true respect for all. Now is the time to think honestly, serve faithfully, and respond to duty's call.
Let's keep it clean today.
Mommy had it really hard raising 3 kids on her own.
At 17 years old, I became a father.
I started baking because I wanted to make a little extra money to just go to school.
At the time, I had to use small-scale farming to support both myself and my daughter.
When the time came to pay for my SE6 subjects, the scholarship from Cranwater, that was a blessing.
The scholarship was actually one of the greatest things that I could earn.
It's very important to pursue education and to strive towards greatness.
When you think about sports and the impact it has on society, there are many positives. For instance, whenever someone is watching a football match, whether it be local or international, or when someone is watching a race, at that time, in that moment, there's no rich or poor, there's no PNP, JLP, there are no divisions. And sports can be said as the ultimate unifier of a segregated society. And with that being said, we have to ensure that we put a major emphasis in terms of protecting sports, and a major way to do that is through investment. And when I say investment, I mean by encouraging children to do more co-curricular activities, as my colleague mentioned earlier. Small businesses and large businesses giving more donations to sporting programs at schools and also by other institutions, because when you're developing sports in Jamaica, you're actually reducing the social ills, right? People don't feel the need to turn to certain violent alternatives.
Yes, because in my situation, sports was what brought me to college. Because growing up in a poor community, poor family, I started playing out netball young. And my mother wasn't against it, and I thought that was what brought me to university. Because I had sports in high school, I stayed away from many bad things. Like, there was peer pressure around me, and because I had the coach and I had my teammates and everybody there, I stayed back at training and I went home, and I was more well-rounded. So that's what sports does for me.
It gave you exposure to new opportunities.
New opportunities.
It opened your eyes to the world.
I traveled.
Precisely.
And without netball, I would have never made it on a plane, I think, because I didn't see a way out of my community if I wasn't playing sports. Right. I would be still there in Manchester, probably working a little job or so, but yeah.
Okay, to you, Miss Netball, if I can call you that.
Yes.
You said your coach has been there for you, right? But at the same time, you said earlier in your issue that some coaches take the life out of the sport.
Take the fun out of it, and they focus so much on winning.
And you're being pressured at some point.
Yes.
Well, from my point of view, I kind of disagree with what you're saying, because to every coach is out there, they're very experienced and they know what they're doing. So if a coach says to you, you can't run like that. He's telling you that because he's well experienced.
Yes, I understand that, because at the end of the day, you can train and you can train hard, but if the athlete is not enjoying what they're doing, they won't succeed. In my opinion, they won't succeed. And at the end of the day, when I go out and play a netball game and we don't win, and then the coach will come and say, so the work list and stay bad, that just make me feel down in myself, and I go say, I'm not come back here, so and right there and done, something that I loved, the coach take it from me.
Well, it is not to let you feel bad. I can give you an example. I had a mishap at Champs 2013 when I first started.
I remember that.
It's the same as you feeling bad and me feeling bad, but at the same time, him saying that to you is just to be a motivation.
Yeah, but you can have other motivating ways. Why bring me down in that moment? Why? And then when I was talking about the fun part, it's about training hard and enjoying what you're doing. You have some coaches out there, it's either you come to training and be serious and all that. If you smile, they want to knock you down. You have things like that. Like in my senior program now, we had a coach, Mr. Roy Thomas. He is dreadful, because he trains us very hard, but we're enjoying running the stands, we're enjoying running the stadium courts, we're enjoying everything that we're doing, even though we're working hard. After each run, you want to puke. So that's what I'm talking about. You need to have that balance.
So question, we were all talking about the positive aspect of youth and sports. What are some of the negatives, or if there are any?
There's an instance where we believe that students have to choose between smarts and sports. You're either dunce and really good at sports,
yes,
or you're a nerd and you're really bad at sports. And it's not necessarily true, because humans are really dynamic creatures, and it's all about the level of discipline that you put out towards what you're doing. So it's possible to actually have a grip on your academics and do well in sports.
Yeah, like Sharona here.
Precisely.
Yeah,
she's a shining example of that.
Yes.
So if she was to do a contractual agreement, right, with a power player, so to speak, like a company or a sponsorship deal, she can actively negotiate on her behalf because of the intelligence that she has. Even though she's a good athlete, she can still wield the ideas and understand what the people are saying to her.
Yeah. And I want to point out that when you're coming as an athlete, you have some responsibility as well. So Julian talks about investment in sports and youth, but also older athletes have the responsibility to show that, you know, this is how you should behave. You're in an interview, this is how you should, you need to make it something to look forward to doing, you understand? So we have to take that, they should also take that responsibility seriously. Because if it is that we don't have nothing to look forward to, we won't do it. And when you guys are talking about coaching styles, coaches also have to remember that it's very hard to coach. Right? Even if it is sociology, one person, so let's say you're quiet, let's say he's quiet, he's like a quiet storm. That's Jared, a very quiet storm, right? And you're an outgoing person. How do I pull from that person to get the best? And also, how do I pull from you? So it may require two different styles. So what she may consider now as disheartening and being pushing away, help her to push away from the sport. You might say, no man, that's soft. No, Vanji, just brush off that and come again. Exactly. You understand? But maybe she takes it differently. So for example, coaches who coach female teams, I have to salute them because we're hard to deal with.
We're hard. Very mixed personalities, everything. When everybody comes together, it's like a big
really
chaos.
But it also leads back to the coaches being well experienced over the years. That's why they go to colleges overseas to understand how an athlete and both genders operate and move around.
And some coaches have them qualification and still don't know it anyway. So at the end of the day, all depends on who. All depends on who. You can have your qualification, but your character just not match. You understand? So you can have your PhD, your maybe whatever or something there. And
there are some persons who have never received any form of training to be a coach.
And they are the best.
And they're indeed the best. So it's a give and take situation where that is concerned.
I just want to say that I agree with what Julian said earlier about sports being a kind of medium for example, all right, in Jamaica, which is a country which we all know there's a lot of divide socially, whether it's by class, whether it's by gender, it's any race, it's by anything, by your social status. And a lot of times, persons from areas that are that are economically depressed and areas that are shown to be more volatile, like political garrisons, etc., sports is a much more constructive outlet for all the pent-up energy that they have. And also, it's a very good medium for persons to not waste their energy on crime or things that are considered nefarious or putting themselves out there and risking their lives to make a little bread. When sports gives them such a big opportunity, especially a lot of these places that you think that persons that are socially depressed and economically depressed areas, a lot of those persons, even though, as you said, humans are dynamic creatures, and you said that many people can be good they can be intellectual and they can be very good at sports. Sometimes, even when that's not the case, when somebody, they really don't have the opportunity academically.
To get into a school that has a good sporting program.
At the same time, when they build up themselves with sports, them can go and make more money than the person where put all their time into academics.
Is it fair for some athletes who will never be like a Usain Bolt or a Shelley Fraser? Not everyone will have the opportunity or will have the skills or even the talent to go and get there. So is it that we're placing too much emphasis? I mean, this is what is passionate for you, this is what you like, but what about others out there who like it, they love it, but for some reason they aren't as good at it or as good as you are?
Passion is a hell of a thing. So when you have passion for something, it's hard to let it go. You have some athletes that when they reach a certain age, they're wondering, oh Lord, I am not going to get this medal, but see if I can get this time. See if I can play in this match in the World Cup. Those things that, when you're passionate for something, it's going to be hard to say, okay, I love netball, I'm playing it all along, stop playing now. So, I tell myself that when I'm going to stop playing, it's because my body can't go no further. It will never be because I don't want to. It's because my body just can't manage the rigor of going on tours and competing against fast-paced athletes, and I'll stop. But then I'll go business house and I'll play in the little leagues because I'm netball and I will always love it. That's passion.
Yes. So is that why we have, for instance, doping or enhancement? So what if, for
Doping.
instance, you think about it, all the 100-meter athletes who are out there competing against both, and they're saying, oh my gosh, he's going to win every race.
Well,
I am
it is
not
just
going to be
natural.
there. So what about them? Aren't they going to push themselves and say that, okay, if I take this, it might increase my chances of winning?
And it also going to increase them chances of not getting anything.
That's the point. So
because
what
at the
do
end of
we
the day,
say to
when
them?
you go take up your body and say you're going to put in diuretics in there.
Because they want to win,
You
because they have a
want to win.
passion for it.
Yeah,
so.
but then again, that's a passion without good moral upbringing.
The emphasis put on winning rather than
Yes.
enjoying what you do.
Enjoying the sport.
But not necessarily just enjoying it, but also sports as I talked about earlier, good sportsmanship. Sports is, you talked about morals earlier and morality when it comes out in sports and what it can teach youth, how sports can mold and guide people into better adults and better members of society. Good sportsmanship is one of the many things that can come out of sports. Besides the improvements in a person's physical health, and also it teaches them to adhere to rules.
Yeah, character building.
And build their character, which those are tools that, while they don't necessarily only come out of sports, sports has been shown to increase a person's chance of grasping those concepts. So while it is, I don't want to say that winning isn't important, but it's not the most important. So persons that will go and dope when they see both in a race, they're taking it to the extreme. Like, I wouldn't use that to exemplify sports on a whole and say that, okay, this is the situation. Those seem more like exceptions to the rule. And mostly, those persons are the ones who are doing it only for the glamour normally and for the glitz and for the fame, but they don't get the real true nature of sportsmanship. They don't get the real lessons that are supposed to be learned from competing with persons and building new experiences, opening new opportunities, and becoming better members of society.
For me, too much and nothing no good. Okay? So it must be a balance, right? So you're saying if you can't make it, you're going dope? No. If you can't make it, you need to kind of divert. You have some people, for example, in track and field, they used to run, let's say, a 400 flat. Not one for them. But them jump over enough things when in Jamaica, so what them do? Go 400 hurdles and got a silver medal. You have to know, as I think Julian said it, about being creative. You know, some athletes now, they have businesses because they understand that it is not a forever thing.
Yeah, it's not a forever thing. And then they have some athletes when they realize that they just can't compete and compete well, they just stop and still involved in sport. They become a coach, they become physios, they become mentors of persons that are good at it.
To my friend here, he was saying that it's not all about winning. If you love the sport and if you love the event, you can always start a business for yourself and say, okay, all right, then I go open a store for just sprinters only. Because you're a sprinter and you said you're not going anywhere. If you want to be a part of the sport and a love for the sport, open your own business and accommodate athletes that you look up to and open a place for yourself.
Yeah, like Juliet Cuthbert, she has a gym.
Yeah.
And that
she
comes
stopped
back.
running how long now?
Yeah, and that comes back to education.
Exactly. So if you do stop, there's always other means and unnecessary things to do to continue your love for the sport and to give back.
And it still links back to education, you know, because education is what gives you the foundation to be a critical thinker. So you can assess a situation and say, well, A is not working. Let me look at B. Okay, I can do a sports line or a store or a gym or what have you. So it's always good to have that balance. Because even though, say for example, you might get injured, because sports is high risk, anything can happen. You know, you might be number one today, anything can happen. But say for example, you get injured and you're the best in the world and you're not able to perform at the level that you were at before. When you have an education, nobody can take that away from you.
I win today and I lose tomorrow. As an athlete and as a coach, being the athlete's guidance, they always have to learn to cope and to work under pressure.
But don't you think that sometimes there's too much pressure being placed on some persons? For instance, they're working extremely hard training.
Extremely hard.
They don't want to sleep, they don't want to eat properly, they just want to train. What do you have to say to athletes like those?
That's why a support system is very important.
Yeah.
You know, you need people around you to kind of keep you in check.
Speaking about support, how are the finances?
Well, I mean, there's always endorsement deals, and I mean...
That's what the track and field folks. Track and
No.
field folks. When I talk about
Not for track and field
netball,
alone.
when I talk about netball,
There's always,
there
are a lot of companies.
I can say that netball has come a long way with sponsorship, and we're very much grateful. But if you look at what track and field and what football gets, a sport like male football, a sport, netball and rugby and female football is not going to get that.
The only reason the
endorsement
deals will be more onto track and field because it is kind of a more highlighted sport. I mean, maybe
but what sport in
the
Jamaica is really, you know, broadcast on TV, especially when you turn on your TV. You don't see
track and field.
Mostly track and field when the time is ready. Football and cricket, and you might see netball a few times. But non-traditional sports like karate and judo and all those other sports, gymnastics, tennis, rugby. You don't see those even in Olympics, like even with some cable companies, they will tell you that, guess what, we're going to show it now because normally when TVJ goes, they're only going to show you track and field and only thing that Jamaicans are involved in. And we have so many Jamaicans who could be better involved in other sports if they were given the opportunity.
I just think the media publishes the most popular things. So if the country is talking about track and field, they're going to grab that buzz and run with it.
It is not the media itself. I mean, track and field has really put Jamaica on the map. So from that moment on, that is why it is being highlighted a lot in Jamaica and across the world.
But don't you think it's fair that other sports...
It is fair, but I mean, if a sport is giving Jamaica a lot of recognition. I mean, why not support it? Why not support it?
Well, I think there's a challenge because, all right, we're doing, say for example, karate, martial arts. We're actually doing very well on a statistical basis right now as we speak. But a lot of people would know that.
Like me never know that if you never tell me.
But here's the thing. Sports has a lot to do with advertising. Advertising
it's a business.
Is all about attention, it's all about the eyes. And they'll run the numbers across the board. Sometimes they go overboard, but they look at the numbers and say, all right, this is where the eyes are, we're going to dump the most money here. Because the companies, they use those sports as their outlet so that they can market their goods. So it's really just a big advertising platform, and they're running the numbers and they want to get the highest ROI. Return on investment. So I think that's a problem, but I think we can do better.
And even to add on to his point, remember in high school or primary school, when you heard about sports and PE, netball, football, track and field, might get cricket. You know, if your school doesn't have a swimming pool, you're not going to do swimming, you're not going to do hockey, you're not going to do other sports. So what then can, at the school level or the education level, what can they do?
And the same as
is when me come at me
reaching out and asking for support and endorsement. I mean, if you don't have the facilities, why not seek some form of sponsorship and get it into the schools? Simple as that, you know.
But will it be easier?
It won't be easy to get.
It will be easier because you will have the financial support on your hand, and the placement is very easy to find in a high school.
I was never good at football. You know, I liked it, but I was never a good athlete. And then one day, the females were playing netball and they were short of a member, so I said, okay, I'm going to try out. I'm just going to fill in for somebody. And they were saying, wow, you're really good and you should try it more. And I started having this love for this sport that people would say, oh, it's a female sport, you can't play netball because you're not a girl. And in my mind, I was saying that how is it fair then if the same school is allowed to have a female football team? Then how about having a male netball team? I think that too much well, I won't say too much freedom, but I think there is some level of biasness as it pertains to public image, and you're saying that, okay, this guy or this boy is going to do netball, and you don't know what could have been in store for him. So is it fair then to have somebody who loved netball, very much loved it, had to do what the curriculum stated, had to do football and had to do track and field when their love and their interest was in netball? Do you think that was
So
fair?
I can help you out there. So you have to understand that having your school now having a female football team would have been the case at first, that one radical person. I went to Glenmuir in 2003, and in first form, I had to play with the boys. There is no, it's an academic school, right? A lot of academics. So there's no female football team. Females play netball, and that's probably it, right? They play netball, and I would carry my shorts to PE because I'm going down to the field. Okay. I played in primary school, so I know the game.
And was it always that easy, or did you have any
No,
negative
there's a lot of negatives. There's a lot of stereotype, you know.
Exactly, because they're
like,
saying you're not
no, so
strong
why
enough,
you look so, or why you play with the boys, and then when you get out of uniform, you look nicey. I'm like, but I was the same person in the shorts.
Exactly.
You know, people don't understand that you have to fight for what you want.
Exactly.
And I stood up for the females. I asked, I went around trying to find, you know, you're interested, well, not you, you're interested, trying to find other females interested. And you'd be surprised, there are lots of people, when you have that radical issue, you need to find a lot other persons willing.
Exactly.
So there is a male team in Jamaica. So
Exactly,
we used to
in
play
Jamaica,
against,
but
we used
how
to play
many
against
teams
them.
can go like in a school level? And even
So you have to
exactly.
start that. It takes that one person. By the time I got to third form, there was a female team. Up to this day, there's a female team at Glenmuir High School. But it's always that one person, you know, and in terms of schools and the expansion of sports, it's always, okay, you like badminton, you're the country.
Exactly.
We don't play badminton. But there's this one person who will play, and it starts out, and there's a teacher probably who knows the sport and help it. And you have these small sets of people building and expanding, but it's not going to be, we need more sports, and it comes like that.
And also,
it takes time.
Sorry to cut you off, but it's also important to note that in a country like Jamaica, where gender stereotypes and bias in society is very prevalent.
And personality, exactly. Females are soft, males are tough.
While it is unfortunate and while it is unfortunate and it can be seen as unfair for persons who are of a certain gender and want to play a sport that doesn't stereotypically fit within their gender.
Exactly.
While that is the case and it is the reality, it's important to note that it's something that's grounded in Jamaican society. Like, regardless of what people might say, it's stigmas against persons stepping out of their supposed gender roles are very prevalent in Jamaica, and they show very little signs of dwindling. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
My boss, I can tell you, if you love the sport and if you enjoy doing it, do it. Because in every sport and in everything you do, there is always criticism. You understand me? If you love it, you do it. Because you love it and because you want to do it.
Jamaica, we done kick a ball and we done run down the track. Down at Manchester, down at Kingston, we still come back.
I know I can depend on my barber to give me the perfect haircut every time. Respect is also due to my bus conductor. He ensures that I am not left behind and I get on board safely. It's good to see the police protecting and reassuring with courtesy. My journey through life is unfolding every day. I pledge my heart forever to serve Jamaica, our shining homeland, with pride.
Mommy had it really hard raising 3 kids on her own.
At 17 years old, I became a father.
I started baking because I wanted to make a little extra money to just go to school.
At the time, I had to use small-scale farming to support both myself and my daughter.
When the time came to pay for my SE6 subjects, the scholarship from Cranwater, that was a blessing.
The scholarship was actually one of the greatest things that I could earn.
It's very important to pursue education and to strive towards greatness.
If you love the sport, do it. Regardless of the negative feedbacks, regardless of whatever other persons might say, if that's what you feel that you're good at, then do it. one person can start a whole tradition, can start a whole team. So therefore, if you love it, no matter what gender bias, no matter what you're going through, just do it.
A part of tackling the crime monster that is in our country is investing in sports programs. And how we can actually do this effectively is look at how we can adapt a team, for argument's sake. Sagicor, as a part of their corporate social responsibility, they spend a lot of money on programs like Sigma. They also have a sponsorship program at UA, I believe. I see a lot of their branding on campus. Other companies that are actually grossing a lot of profits, they can actually direct some of those profits to sports development in order to reduce those social ills, including crime, so that we can create a better environment for developing Jamaica.
Coaches bring back fun. Yes, you want them to win, but they must enjoy what they're doing. So in everything, the key word is fun. So that is one of my solutions. Another one would be that you put in place mentorship programs for your athletes or your charges. Have somebody there that they can look up to, or even you can be the mentor. You can have you there, have other persons around the team, managers, just persons just come in and talk to them, work on their self-esteem, and that can work too.
So the solution that I'm proposing is for schools to fund programs and put programs in place for students to not only develop their skills in the sport itself or in athletics itself, but also to see the business side, the other nature of sports, associated with business, associated with managing themselves, associated with managing their finances in the sport, so that they can have education to fall back on. They have a cushion. So if anything goes wrong, they get injured, they will always have the intelligence. They will always have that know-how that will be able to carry them through. So different opportunities in sports. You don't have to just be an athlete. You can be a coach. You can be a manager. You can have an advertising agency that specializes in sports contracts, etc. So
my solution is to import the proper resources and machines and treatment to save the athletes and whoever who controls them and guide them the expense of flying them overseas.
I'd purport that coaches should take every opportunity that they have to advance themselves, whether it's going to a coaching course or just through research and development. Because you are an important part of an athlete's life, and that athlete is not just an athlete, they're a human being and they want to be holistically developed. You're going to be that driving force that hones their passion, and they can now integrate that passion into their lives in whatever ways they want to. I'd make a special appeal for the Women's Premier League that has been delayed because of sponsorship, and it will start now in August, but it's so late. So for those who can jump on board, you should.
Support netball, support female football, support rugby, support gymnastics, support the karate kids. Just make sport a well-rounded support system. Just support everything that as much as you can. Just don't limit it to one thing. Everybody need the love and the guidance and the money.
Support.
Yes, we all need it. Right, so now we take it to Stepper. See you later.
Talk up youth, talk up youth, talk up youth, Mr. Talk up youth. It's a sporting. That is what I and I promoting. While some are run fast, others trying to doping, trying to cope king. It's a sporting. Speaking about Fraser Price, Bowl King. Big up to the sub king. Yeah, pole vaulting, discus and the throating. Whether up on the field or the track king. It's a sporting. That is what we're promoting. Yeah, my foot start Ball King, T-Gat Davis, Black Pearl, Nandy Low King. Talking about boys champs and girls king, it's a sporting. That is what we're promoting. Creative advocacy in our body structure king. It's a sporting. That is what we're promoting. Speaking about the whole heap of gold medal king, that is what we're promoting. Natural thing, although sometimes the authority hardly supporting. But what? It's a sporting. That is what we're promoting. Some are trying to cope by a dope king. We not talk no herb, no coke thing. We are talk some steroids and all some buff up thing, football thing. It's a sport thing. That is what we promoting. Talk up youth. That is what we promoting. Listen, words sound a power. It's a sport thing.
Talk up youth, we say to talk up youth.
We have to build the youths, the Talk Youth in Jamaica.
Talk Up Yout is powered by National Baking Company in association with Cranwater, a Stanley and Empress production, giving the youth a voice.